Hello everyone. Very good afternoon. Hope all of you are doing good. Thank you very much for taking part in today's workshop session. So I really thank you because this has been a successful journey so far, and it is successful just because of your participation. So thank you very much for that. Now this is the third workshop in the ADManager Plus workshop series. And just to give you a heads up what we covered in the previous weeks, so every week Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time we have the workshop series scheduled, and the week one was all about user provisioning using CSV files, and week two was about user provisioning using CSV files and templates. So it was more like user provisioning, the first phase of AD lifecycle management. So as you know, AD lifecycle management has three phases, which is creation, modification, and deletion. So we were focusing on creation for the first 2 weeks, and now we have now entered into the second phase of AD lifecycle management, and that is modification. So the topic for this week is going to be user modification using CSV files and templates. So what I would request you to do is, for those of you who already have a test installation or a lab in your end, you can just play with the application as we go through this workshop. And for those who do not have a test installation, I will be sharing the link for the test installation and the credentials as well. You can very well access it from your laptop and then play with the application. Okay, so let me quickly, give you the links for accessing the setup. Okay, so if you could just notice your chat window, you will be, receiving the link in a short while. So the link is going to be http // admp.cloudapp.net. Okay, so once again, let me just give it out to you. http //admp.cloudapp.net. Here you go. And the username is going to be ADMP, all in lowercase, and the password would be workshop with W in caps. Okay, now you can just make use of this test installation and then test few things out that we are about to discuss in this workshop. Now, as I said, this workshop we will be focusing on user modification. And let me give you the agenda for today's discussion. So I said that it's all about user modification. Now, to start with, we will be creating a mailbox enabled account, a mailbox enabled user, and the second thing, or the second task that we will be doing is we will be modifying the SMTP addresses, the primary and the secondary SMTP addresses of users in bulk, or of that specific user. And then we will be doing the same thing but in a much easier way, which is modifying the primary and secondary SMTP of users in a much easier way. So I'll be showing you two methods of modifying the primary SMTP of users. And why did I choose modifying a primary SMTP for this workshop is because most of our customers, be it in the case of one company acquiring another company, or any candidate, or I'm sorry, any employee changing the last name after marriage, so on and so forth. So you have a requirement of modifying the SMTP addresses. And I'm going to show you an easy way of doing it, and that would be the third task. And the next task would be templates. So we will be modifying users based on templates. So I'm just going to show you how easy the modification process is going to be. Okay, and let's start with user creation. So let me quickly log in here. And you can log in as well, so you can use the credentials that I gave you. Okay, so now login. So As soon as I log into the application, as I said, I will be creating a user account, a mailbox enabled user account. So the tab is going to be ADMG empty. So I click on create a single user. So I'm just going to create a test user real quick. So it shouldn't take more than a few seconds. So I'm going to name the user as test, and the last name is going to be workshop. Okay, test workshop, or let's say test workshop 1, so as to avoid duplicates if there are any accounts. And the mandatory attribute for creating any user account based on the password policy is the password attribute. Okay, confirm it. Okay, so now that I told you that I'm going to create a mailbox enabled account, so I just go to the Exchange tab, click on mailbox enabled user, and I choose the mail server and the mailbox store, and then hit create. So this is something that we covered in the first workshop. So this is just something like an a revision of it. So we are revisiting user provisioning. So after we create a mailbox enabled account, we will start the actual topic, which is user modification. Okay, now the account is created. So in order to modify users, we will be using a CSV file. So the next step that we are going to do is create a CSV file. And for creating a CSV file, you need to specify headers. And I'm not going to make this too complicated for you. I'm just going to use two attributes, just two attributes. And the task that I would be accomplishing is modifying the SMTP addresses. And let's see how it goes. And before that, I'd like to have a look at the users property, the one that we just created, and we'll see how it goes from there. So I just click on modify single user. I'm just trying to verify the users property that we just created. So, okay, test. Okay, here's the user that we just created, test workshop 1. I'm just going to have a look at the properties so that you'll be able to see the difference before and after modification. So test workshop 1. So exchange, I'm just making sure that the SMTP addresses are set. Okay, if I scroll down, perfect. SMTP address is set. Now we will be trying to modify the SMTP address of this specific user account using a CSV file. That would be the task. And for this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take something called as the fingerprint attribute for user accounts in Active Directory. And what is that? It is the SAM account name. And why do I call it the fingerprint attribute? The reason is the fingerprint attribute or the SAM account name cannot be duplicated, and that's why I'm going to pick the SAM account name for the header in the CSV, because that would be very effective in locating the users that I'm trying to modify, be it one user or be it 100 users. It's just the SAM account name that would do the trick. Keep this in mind. With just the SAM account name, you can modify pretty much any attribute, any user attribute in Active Directory, and let's see how. So I'm just going to copy the SAM account name of the user. Okay, the next step is creating a CSV file. Okay, I just open up a notepad, and the header should always be in LDAP format. If you had been in the first workshop, we discussed on how to create a CSV file with the right LDAP attributes. For those of you who are new to this, you can always go to the help link. You just click on the help link in the top right corner, and then if you just expand CSV import in the help document and then go to create users using CSV, you would find the list of LDAP attributes supported by ADManager Plus. So just click on the list. You would find the name in AD and its corresponding LDAP header, the header that you should be using in the CSV file. So you will be finding similar mappings for pretty much all the attributes related to user accounts. If you just scroll down, you have an exhaustive list here. So Yes, let me go back to creating a CSV file. SAM account name. Okay, so again, so there you go, SAM account name, the N in caps. Okay, and the attribute that I'm trying to modify is proxy address. Okay, so that's the LDAP for SMTP. So proxy. Okay, there you go. So that's it. And now that I've already copied the SAM account name of the user that I'm trying to modify, I just paste it. And I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to modify the existing SMTP address, and I'm going to set a new SMTP address, which is going to be the primary. And not only that, I'm going to add a secondary SMTP address as well. So let's see how to do that. Okay, so for primary SMTP, I should be typing in SMTP in caps. So whenever I type SMTP in caps, it means that it is going to be the primary address of the user account. So what do I name it? So I just give it test account at domain.com. Okay, so this is going to be the primary SMTP address for this user account, and I give a semicolon, and I'm going to add the secondary SMTP address. So you may notice that this SMTP is in lowercase, which is going to be the secondary SMTP address. So test user account at domain1.com. So I'm just trying going with a sample address here, and let's see how this modification works. So now I'm going to save this file. Okay, I need to make sure that I save it as .csv. So modification .csv. Okay, done. Now we have created the CSV files, and once again, I'm just going to use SAM account name, the fingerprint attribute, to locate users. I can add any number of users to the CSV file. If you want, you can just go ahead and add 50 users or 100 users to the CSV file. I'm just showing you an example with one user so that you understand the steps clearly. So proxy addresses would be the header, under which I key in the primary SMTP address as well as the secondary SMTP address. So the next step is we are going to import the file that we created. So close, I go to ADManager, AD management. So in order to modify users using CSV file, you have a separate heading here, CSV import, create users using CSV, or modify users. So we are trying to modify users here. So modify users. Okay, so you just import the CSV file, the one that we created, import, you click on choose file. The file that we created is going to be modification.csv, so I'm just going to select that, and I request you note something as soon as I hit OK. Okay, so now I click on OK, and let's say I have 20 user accounts in the list. I do simply check all so that all the accounts get selected, and if I need to change the header, so I can do so by clicking on the change headers here. So I'm not going to change the headers, all of them are right. So I'm just going to hit update in AD. So please note something very important here whenever you're doing a bulk operation. So you just click on update in AD. Now this is a very important step. So you just click on show. We have two categories here. Select attributes to be modified. Now the attribute that we are trying to modify is not the SAM account name. SAM account name is something that we are using to locate users. So I'm just going to uncheck this. So the attribute that we are trying to modify is proxy addresses. Okay, that's good. And the next thing is match criteria to locate users in AD. What am I going to use to locate users in AD? I'm going to use the SAM account name. Why? Because it's the fingerprint attribute. So now I just click on advanced options. So let's see what's there in advanced options. So advanced options has two checkboxes here, one for append values and the other one for clear attribute value if the CSV file is empty. So in order to wipe out certain values, you can just go ahead and mention the header and leave the corresponding value empty, and then select the checkbox, which means it would wipe out the attribute value in Active Directory. As simple as that. So if you'd like to wipe out certain attributes for terminated user accounts, you can very well do that by selecting the checkbox and then leaving the attributes value blank in the CSV. Okay, so now I'm not going to append. I'd like to overwrite. So I'm just trying to replace the existing SMTP address of that user account with the ones that I have in the CSV file. So let's see what happens. So I just click on OK. Okay, it's spinning, which means it's trying to contact my domain controllers and then perform the necessary changes. There you go. So it's now updated. So let's see whether the modification has taken effect. So in order to find that, I just go to AD management, ADMGMT, and then I just go to modify single user. I just go to modify single user to quickly view the user's property. So I just search for the user account, and it's going to be test workshop 1. Okay, I just click on modify user. So we try to modify the primary SMTP and the secondary SMTP. So I just go to the Exchange tab in order to verify. Okay, and if I scroll down, there you go. So now we initially created the user account with a different primary SMTP address, and just by using a CSV file and two simple attributes, we have modified the SMTP address of users. Not only that, we have also added the secondary SMTP address for that user account. So as simple as that. Now that the first task is over, we will be talking about simplifying this process. Now, how do I simplify this process? So I'm going back to the same CSV file that we were using. So what I do is modification.csv. So this is the CSV file that we were using, and now I'm going to make it more simple. I'm just going to use one attribute here, that is just the SAM account name. I'm not going to manually key in the proxy address because I think that is too much work. So how do I modify the SMTP address for users if I don't key in the values? So let's see how to do that. So now I save the CSV file with just the SAM account name of, let's say, 50 users or so, and then I go to AD management. Now that I do not have any values for proxy addresses already defined in the CSV, I'm not going to click on modify users because that makes no sense. So in order to modify the SMTP address of users, whenever you don't have any value in the CSV file, or to be precise, to keep it simple, so what you do is you have something called modify SMTP address right here. This does the same thing, but in a much more simpler manner. So how to do that? So I just click on modify SMTP address. Okay, now what we are trying to do, we are trying to set the primary and secondary SMTP address for users. Okay, so I just click on add. Okay, you have everything in the user interface right here. Okay, now I'd like to set the SMTP address as something like this, which is first name dot last name at domain.com. Now, if this is going to be the case, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify a very simple header here, which is given name, which is the LDAP attribute for first name, a dot, %sign, SN at let's say domain123.com. Now I'd like to set this as the SMTP address. Now this, if I'm going to modify, let's say 100 users, it's going to be a quite a complex task for me in order to create a CSV file with the proxy address of all those 100 user accounts. So that's going to be a bit hectic. So in order to avoid all that, I can simply go with this format here. So given name would take the first name of the user account, and SN will take the last name of the user account and then populate the proxy address. As simple as that. So if I'd like to create a secondary SMTP address, yes, I can do that. I just click on add more formats, and then I just go with a secondary SMTP address. So let's create a secondary SMTP address as well. So given name within the percentage sign dot SN at domain test.com. Okay, so now I just hit OK, and now we are all set to modify the primary and secondary SMTP addresses of users in bulk. All I need to do is just import the CSV file and see how it goes. So I go to CSV import, I click on choose file, I browse for the CSV file that contains just the SAM account name of the user accounts and nothing else. So modification.csv, I hit open and then go. So if I just click on go, and then if I have a lot of user accounts, I just verify and search by SAM account name. So if I have let's say 3 or 4 attributes populated in the CSV file, so I can just go ahead and choose the attribute that I'd be using to locate users. Now that I have just one attribute, by default it would pick up the SAM account name in the CSV file. So I just hit apply. Now it's trying to modify the SMTP address of users in the CSV file. Okay, so let's see how it goes. Successfully modified. Now I go back to AD management just to cross check whether the modification is success. I click on modify single user. Okay, I just search for the user account that we created. Okay, test workshop 1. I click on modify user to view the properties, and I just go to the exchange tab, and if I scroll down here, we have now modified the primary SMTP address of users and also appended the already existing entries. So you have a way to wipe out the existing entry as well as to append the existing entry. So this is how you modify SMTP address of users in bulk. Now some of you might not be using Exchange. For those of you who are not using Exchange, how would you use a CSV file to perform other modifications, so rather than something to deal with Exchange? So let's say I'm going to stick to my previous example. Let's say you're going to merge 2 companies. Okay, company A gets merged with company B. So there arises a need of restructuring the entire domain. So in terms of naming attributes, that would be the primary requirement. Naming attributes and modifying the SMTP addresses if you have them, and also assigning group memberships and all those stuff. So let's start with the naming attributes here. Okay, so now I'm just going to use a single CSV file. I'm not going to make it complicated, and I'm just going to change the user attribute here. Before which, I'd like you to make a note of the user attributes here. Okay, so let's assume that I've already created new accounts and I'm going to modify or restructure the newly added accounts. So in our case, it's going to be the test workshop 1 user. So the SAM account name, the display name, and the full name are going to be test workshop 1 without any spaces or characters in between. I'm just going to change it, or apply a naming format, and then make it common for all the user accounts in my Active Directory domain. How do I do that? I go to AD management. Okay, now all these operations that you find under bulk modification can be performed using a single CSV file and a single LDAP header. Okay, now let's modify the naming attributes. Naming attributes right here. I just click on naming attributes. Okay, so I can define a format here. How I want the format. Do I want something like first name or last name? I mean, do I want a dot in between, or do I have a format that my organization already follows? So I can always create my own format by clicking on the link here. So if you have something like first initial dot last name at domain.com, and if you would like to apply this for all the newly created user accounts, yes, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to choose a simple format, which is first name dot last name, just a dot in between. Okay, for all the naming attributes, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so I click on CSV import, I choose file, modification.csv, I open, and then I hit go. Okay, it's trying to modify the user attributes, and it's trying to set all the naming formats. Okay, it's done. So now if I go back to AD management and if I open the properties of test workshop 1 user account, let's see whether I find a dot in between the first name and last name and all the other naming attributes. Okay, there you go. So you have test.workshop1, and we'd not modify it for a few of the attributes. So the attributes that I selected was, the full name. So right here, you have it right here. So this is how you modify the naming format for all the user accounts in your Active Directory domain with just one CSV file. Okay, so that's about the naming format, and this is the same for all the operations that you see here. If you'd like to, move users from one OU to another, so you can just go ahead and click on the move users link, and then what you do is you select the target container. So if you just click on the plus sign here, the OU tree view would be populated. You are selecting the target OU. So you just select the target OU, okay, users. I just hit OK. And now that I already have a CSV file with the user account, so I just click on CSV import, choose file, and I repeat the same operation. Okay, so this is how I move users in bulk from one OU to another. Not only that, so let me just talk about a few important use cases here. Now there are scenarios in which you probably decommission a file server, and there arises a necessity for moving home folders from one file server to another. How do you do that? So you just go to move home folders, and then you set or you select the target home folder, and you can always retain a copy in the original location if you want by selecting the checkbox just below, and you can also move the profile path to a different location if you want. And you just import a CSV file that again contains just the SAM account name of the user accounts, hit go, that's it. And that's for modifying, or I'm sorry, moving home folders. And the most important criteria would be group attributes. Let's say you have 10 employees who are leaving your organization, and and the first thing that you'd like to do is, or you need to do is, you need to make sure that they are removed from all security groups. So that would be very important security handling that you should be doing. And how do you do that? Very simple. You just select this checkbox here which says clear all group membership. And how do I provide an input? I already have a CSV file with the SAM account name. I just click on CSV import the CSV file, and I hit go, and within a matter of seconds I will be removing the users from all their group memberships. So this is the same for adding users to group as well. So if you'd like to add a specific user or specific set of users based on a department change to a specific group, you just click on add group, browse for the groups, and then set a group as primary and hit go. Okay, so you accidentally delete, let's say, 2 user accounts, and you know the name of the user accounts that you deleted. Okay, so you'd like to restore those user accounts, and how would you do that? So you have something called restore deleted users. Now, if you are going to do the same in Active Directory using the native tools, you'll have to go to the deleted objects container, which is again a hidden container, and then query for the users, which is going to be a bit complex of a task. So in order to avoid all that, you just type in the name of the users here and then search for them, or you import a CSV file that again has the SAM account name. Restore the users with all the attributes. So one important note is, if your domain functional level is about 2008 R2 or something equivalent to that, you will be able to restore the complete set of attributes of that user account. So the next question is, so if it is not the case, then what happens? Will I not be able to restore user accounts? I will be able to restore user accounts, even my DFL is not 2008 R2, but the restore is going to be partial. So the user will be restored with just the basic attributes, not the entire set of attributes. That's the only difference. So same thing for enable, disable, or deleting users. Okay, so next we are going to talk something about templates. So that would be the last topic for today's workshop, and that's going to be templates. Okay, so I just go to AD management, and I have two templates here, user creation templates and user modification templates. So we are going to have a look at user modification templates for this week. So user modification templates. Now, why would I need a template for modifying user accounts? The reason is very simple: to keep the modification process as simple. Okay, so not too complicated, and at the same time you need to have a track of the attributes that you have modified. Okay, so I'm just going to use a very common case here. So there are chances in which a user gets promoted, and he moves from one department to another. Let's say a guy gets promoted from a sales to the finance department. So based on an attribute change, if you'd like to set that as a trigger for modifying the other attributes for that specific user account, you can very well use the template. And let me quickly show you what I'm saying. Okay, so let me quickly do something here before that. I'm just going to modify this user account, the one that we were testing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to promote, or I'm going to change the department for that specific user account, because I have now promoted that user account to the finance team. So I just click on modify single user. Okay, so I go to the contact tab, and then what I do is I update, let's say, HR. Okay, so now the user is moved to the HR department. So this is just an attribute change. So I'm going to build the template based on this change. Okay, so that's just for an example. You can build as many templates as you want. So let's say you have 10 departments, you can just go ahead and build 10 different templates. And building a template is going to be just a one-time thing. So if you build a template once, you can use it for modifying any users any number of times. So you just go to user modification templates, you create a new template. Okay, and a very interesting feature, or a very logical feature I would say, is we have something called modification rules within the template. So I just go to modification rules. So I create a new rule, and let's see what are the options that I have. So I have something called add conditions. I just click on add conditions. So what I'm trying to achieve is, if the user's department is going to be HR, I want the user to be a member of 3 different groups. I want the user to report to a specific user who will be the manager for that user account, and I want the description to be changed, and I want few of the attributes to be changed as well. And I am not going to do this manually. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to create something called modification rules, so that once I apply this template on that user account, the template will take care of the rest. Okay, so let's see how this works. So if the department is, let's say, HR, you can add any number of departments and titles you want, so we have no restrictions here. So if the department is HR, then I want, let's say, the user to be a member of 3 different groups. So you have a pop-up here. In the left hand side, you have some of, all the available groups in your Active Directory environment, and in the right hand side, you have the selected groups. I'm just going to select 4 groups. Okay, so now I have added 4 groups. I just click on add. So that's the first condition. So the user should be a member of 4 different groups, and should be reporting to a specific user who's going to be the manager. I'm setting the manager attribute for HR department. Let's say I'm going to choose ADManager. Okay, and I can add any number of conditions. So you just click on the drop down list. You have these many attributes that you can set based on the modification or based on the value of a specific attribute, which in our case is going to be department. Okay, so to find out whether the modification is a success, I'm going to add a description. Okay, description to test workshop. I hit add. So all we are doing right now is we are building templates. So workshop template for HR department. Okay, so this is for the HR department, and if the department is HR, I want these attributes to be set for that user account. So that's the basic idea in building this template, or the logic behind building this template. So I just click on save template. Now we have saved the template based on some logic, and now we are going to apply this template on user account, and let's see how it goes. So I just go to AD management. So I'm not going to modify users in bulk. Let's say I'll just go with one user for now. I just click on modify single user. I select for the user, I search for the user account that I'm going to modify. So test workshop 1. I click on modify user. And what I'm going to do now is I'm simply going to choose the template that we created, which is workshop template for HR department. So I select this. Okay, and I also have an option to preview what is about to change. So I just click on preview here, and even before anything is changed in Active Directory, so I'll be able to oops. So let's just hit update user and see. So okay, so no changes found. I guess I selected the wrong user account. Let me quickly check. Okay, so forgot to save the department here. So okay, now the department is HR. So because we designed a template based on a logic that if the department is HR, then these are the attributes that should be set. So I had not saved the user the previous time. So now I've saved the user. I'm going to modify the user once again just to make sure that it's working the way it's supposed to work. So what I'm going to do now is I just click on modify user again. Now the department is already set to HR. So our template logic is if the department is equal to HR, then the attribute should be modified. So workstation template for HR department. Okay. So let me quickly try something else here. So just wanted to make sure that it works. So we'll conclude this workshops soon after that. So we're just going to make sure that the user modification templates work the way it's supposed to. Just to make sure that there are no misconfigurations here. Okay. Let's go with the finance team and then save template. Let me quickly check whether there are any users with the department as finance. So I'm just going to modify a user right now. So let's check. So the existing field that I'm modifying is department, and the existing value is HR, and the new value is finance. So I'm pretty sure that the change has taken effect. So I'm just going to update it. Okay. So once the update is done, we will apply the templates, and we'll see how it goes from there. So I'm just going to do a small refresh. Okay, I go to modify user. Okay, the field is now finance. I'm just going to load the template. So we just changed the criteria in the template, and now we are trying to modify. So even okay, so we have something successful. I guess it worked. So let me quickly verify. So we just modified one attribute. I'm sorry, we just used one attribute as a trigger for modifying multiple attributes, and let's see whether that has taken effect. So before that, the template had 4 groups, and it had a description called test. So let's say whether everything has taken effect. So I'm just going to click on modify user in order to view all the properties. Okay, so I just go to the contact. Okay, and so you can see that the manager attribute has been updated because this is one of the modifications that we had done. So if the department is going to be X, then the manager has to be A. So that was one of the criteria, and we also updated the description, and we changed the group membership as well. So let's see whether the user has been added to 3 or 4 groups that was defined in the template. So I just click on edit. So perfect. So this is how you modify users. You just use a specific attribute as a trigger for modifying multiple attributes in Active Directory. So just a quick summary of today's session. So today's session was all about modifying users using CSV and template. The first thing is we created a CSV file, and we modified the primary SMTP addresses of users, and then we created a template. Now based on the template, you can just go ahead and modify, and you have a logic. You are allowed to build a logic to make modification a lot more easier. Okay, so you can just play with the application, and if you have any questions, you are most welcome to get in touch with us at any time. And just to give you a heads up about the next workshop, which is scheduled for next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, we will be focusing more on reports in the sense retrieving vital information from Active Directory without using scripts, without depending on PowerShell and VB scripts. And not only that, so once you have the information that you're looking for, what do you do with that? How do you act, and how do you manage accounts on the go or on the fly? That's the topic for the next workshop, which is scheduled for next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So thank you very much for your time today. I hope the session was informative. And if you have any questions, we are always there to help you. Thank you, and you all have a nice day.